Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Zwei Gläser. Er hat einmal 3. I got three times water, you know. 3 cups, 1 time.
Wir werden uns verbessern. Wir schaffen das.
Jai Shishi Vijay Garanga Jai Jai Ki Jai. Das ist Rekord. Okay, so we are reading from the amazing pastimes of the most amazing personality, Srila Prabhupada. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Gaur Mohan wanted Vaishnava goals for his son. He wanted Abhay to become a servant of Radha Rani, to become a preacher of the Bhagavatam, and to learn the devotional art of playing mridanga. He regularly received sadhus in his home, and he would always ask them, "Please bless my son, so that Srimati Radharani may be pleased with him and grant him her blessings." There's a video of Srila Prabhupada And Prabhupada is playing Mridanga in this studio. There was a studio in Los Angeles. And Prabhupada was playing and playing, and after finishing, he said, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. And Srila Prabhupada says, he's calling Mridanga like this, and he said, Prabhupada, my father never wanted me to be a materialistic man. He always wanted me to learn Mridanga. So I think my parents didn't want me to be anything. Oh no, they wanted to be a soldier, I see. Your parents wanted you to be a soldier?
My parents? No.
My parents sent me to school when I was 14 years old, to a soldier school, to be in the army. I did 1 year and I came back. I was 14 years old, I was a child. It was a child abuse. Huh?
You told me once.
It was a child abuse. Anyways, Prabhupada was, you can say Prabhupada was being groomed, how do you say this in Russian, to actually become a preacher. And you can see all this, what Prabhupada learned as a business and a family man and all these things later on helped so much in preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. Because if you remember, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very cutting. I think if Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to the West, I don't know how much would be preaching going on, you know. He would just cut everybody left and right, you know. But Prabhupada also had a sense of business, and therefore, when you read these letters of Prabhupada, there's so much, about money, about management, take 2,000 and don't give me more than 2,000, or offer this. And Prabhupada was very familiar with how the business works. And therefore, when he opened temples, that was very easy for him to manage. The very first temple the devotees wanted to rent, there was a Brahmananda Prabhu. I cannot exactly recollect the details, but the point is that Brahmananda gave to this man $5,000. At that time, there was huge amounts of money devotees did not have. And Prabhupada told him, why did you give him without signing anything? Brahmananda, devotees were naive, simple. So, okay, give him $5,000. And the man said, okay, Haribol. And he never gave money back. And devotees didn't rent an apartment, the temple. Because New York is a very famous place for cheating. I happened to live in New York for 1 year, and I heard so many court cases, even devotees, suing this and suing that, and everybody's, cheating left and right. So, they saw some naive boys, money, okay, yeah, of course, we will give you. And then he gave him nothing. But Prabhupada was very expert in this, And then, like for example, when Prabhupada went to rent, they wanted to buy actually the Detroit, the mansion. It's a very beautiful building, very beautiful house. I was there, really, really nice, old, from aristocracy, old aristocracy. And so the man wanted $500,000. Then this was lots of money. It was a bad neighborhood, lots of crime, black neighborhood, lots of crime, and one of the worst neighborhoods in Detroit. But the place itself was very beautiful, and you have your own access to the boat. So boat can come to your house and float down to the river. I mean, this is like a fancy, So Prabhupada went to see this place. They already said this was for sale. Prabhupada went and he looked at everything, and he said, and they had no money, like zero money. So Prabhupada just bluffing. Prabhupada, total bluff, It was like, very nice, we will buy it. Actually, we will not buy it. You will give this for free. Because we are professional beggars. You should give this to us. And the man was like, but Swamiji, this is, I cannot give you for... No, and he was attacking. Prabhupada was attacking. Give it for free. You should give us for free. And the man was like, but Swamiji, this is expensive. And Prabhupada said, okay, then if you don't want to give us for free, 350,000 cash. Yeah. And the man said, okay. To put down 150,000 at that time, this is a big money. And then they shook hands and they arranged 350,000. They were leaving, and the devotees were the Prabhupada. We don't have 350,000. The Prabhupada said, I know. They had no money. And he said, we'll find it. And then what Prabhupada did, he had this disciple Ambarish Das, who is now donated some millions to the TOVP. And he asked him to give money. And another Mataji also, she was also young Bhaktin. Her parents were also rich. So he asked her. So two of them, they collected money and they paid. But this is Prabhupada's, and then they asked Prabhupada, how did you, and Prabhupada said, I'm old Calcutta boy. Meaning I have experienced all kinds of cheatings and all kinds of world, I know how to deal with this. Because Prabhupada dealt also with lots of businesses. I mean, Prabhupada had business. Prabhupada had his own factory in Jhansi, or it was Allahabad. Prabhupada had a factory. He was manufacturing medicine. I mean, and there was this famous picture of Prabhupada with mustache. You know, it's written, Abai De, ailment for everything. He has one water inside, and it's for all diseases. Everything is inside. So Prabhupada was doing business. You know, he knew how to do business, and he also lost in business. So he knows what does it mean to lose in business. So he was very careful. So when this came here. That he was, like you can say, he was prepared for this, for the last stage of his life to actually start ISKCON. He was an advanced devotee. And also, another very important thing is that Prabhupada has seen the failure of Gaudiya Math. Because when you see the failure of something, you said, I will not repeat this. And what happened in the Gaudiya Math of his own Guru Maharaj, as we saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, has opened 64 temples, 64 maths. And after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has left the planet, the whole Gaudiya Math just collapsed. And the reason why they collapsed is because they all wanted to be a guru, you know, they all wanted to be an acharya. You know, and you know how, as the saying, too small water, too many crocodiles. You know, there's a little puddle and there's a crocodile, so it doesn't work. You know, or you know, so everybody wanted to be an acharya, next acharya. You know, and then they appointed one acharya after Prabhupada. And this acharya failed badly. He started breaking principles and this and that. So the whole Gaudiya Math just dissolved. Each sannyasi took one temple and then he became acharya. Like for example, now here, if you know whatever happens, and you know Vraj Kumar said, "I am acharya for this temple and I am the guru," and that's it. And it's called Vraja Kumar Gaudiya Math. You know, this is kind of what happened, and you don't have any contact with others. So if there is no this unity of strength is lost. So the whole Gaudiya Math collapsed into various small groups, and each temple was struggling with their own few bhaktas there to maintain, and it was a disaster. And Prabhupada saw all this, and he didn't want to repeat the same, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted Gaudiya Math to be run by a GBC, Governing Body Commission. And this word, Governing Body Commission, is actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati took from the railway company of India. As we know, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as I was saying the other day, he would wander around India and he would see what works well, what doesn't work well. And at that time, the best managed organization in India was railway. So he thought, let's see how are they managing the company. So he saw that GBCs, not one acharya, like one CEO, but they had a GBC of group of people, 12 people, and he said, this is a good way to manage in Kali Yuga. And if one GBC falls off, goes crazy, there's another 11, and somebody else can replace him. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted Gaudiya Math to be run by the GBC. And but in Indian culture, this is like unheard of. In the spiritual culture, that instead of acharya, you have a group. They couldn't process it. So therefore, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati died, left the planet, then they said, well, let's have a GBC. Like, GBC, this is a tradition, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Everybody was looking with Rupa Goswami, and they didn't have a GBC. Lord Chaitanya didn't establish GBC. So they had an acharya. Because after Lord Chaitanya left, for example, in Jagannath Puri, there was an acharya, Gopal Guru Goswami. He was an acharya for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in Puri. Then there was acharya Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan, and so on and so forth. So they established one acharya, Kunja Bihari, but he did not do so well. So Prabhupada saw all these things, and he thought, I will not wait until the end of my life, but I will establish GBC immediately. And he incorporated ISKCON immediately. In 1966, imagine, there was like few hippies. If you see these pictures, there was like some people with hair, and they become International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And at that time, they had only 2 temples, or one even. One storefront. It's maybe like if you cut this room on 1/3 less, and something like this. This is the first International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And devotees were kind of wondering, what is so international? We are just here in some people, they did not know what is even anything, but they thought, okay, Swamiji wants international, so they signed. They had no idea what it is. But Prabhupada had vision, And then Prabhupada immediately, after like ISKCON grew a little bit, they immediately established GBC. And he was training these GBCs personally. And we know from the original 11 GBCs, I think maybe 1 left, 2 by now. But now ISKCON has around 39 or 40 GBCs, something like this, 30 something GBCs. So meaning that even if those GBC who couldn't make it, didn't, somehow they showed that they were not pure devotees, the new people came in. And now we have our own devotee from Switzerland is becoming GBC. So this is the genius of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So let's read now Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashta prayesha baddeshu nitya bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:17-10 and some other verses because there's no purport. So how do we read this now? Anye chanada nadyascha varshe santi bahusho mervadi giri duhitara shattashaha. Anybody has a better, hat jemand better Vorschlag, what you singen hier? How do you sing this?
Kompliziert.
Anye chanada nadyascha varshe santi bahusho meri adigiri duhitara shattashaha.
Come on.
Okay, so please, bitte schön. If you would like to, I don't know, I'm not a. Versucht jemand, möchte jemand versuchen?
Anye chanada natyashta vashe santi bahusho mervadi giri duhitara shattashaha.
Anye chanada nadyascha varshe santi bahusho mera digiri duhitara shatasha. Anye chanada nadyascha varshe santi bahusho Anye Chanadana Charashe Vashe Santi Bahu Shome Radigiri Duhitara Shatashaha. So Anye, many others. Cha, also. Nadaha, rivers. Nadyaha, small rivers. Cha, and. Varshe, Varshe, in each tract of land. Santi, are. Bahusha, of many varieties. Meru Adigiri Duhitaraha, daughters of the mountains beginning with Meru. Shatashaha, in the hundreds. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru. These rivers are like daughters of the mountain, and they flow to the various tracts of land in hundreds of branches. So this is the verse. Now we're continuing. This is the Ganga was going down, and all these small rivers now coming from Mount Meru, and they're spreading all over. Next verse, verse 11. Among the 9 Varshas, the tract of land known as Bharatvarsha is understood to be the field of fruitive activities. Learned scholars and saintly persons declare the other 8 Varshas to be meant for very highly elevated pious persons. After returning from the heavenly planets, they enjoy the remaining results of their pious activities in these 8 earthly Varshas. So, the heavenly planets, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The heavenly places of enjoyment are divided into 3 groups. The celestial heavenly planets, meaning the, Svargaloka, the heavenly places on earth, like Hawaii, and Bila, heavenly planet, Bila heavenly places, which are found in the lower regions. Bila is the lower regions of the material existence. Among these 3 classes of heavenly places, Bhauma Svarga Padani, the heavenly places on earth are the 8 Varshas other than Bharata Varsha. In Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Krishna says, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. When the persons living in the heavenly planets exhaust the results of their pious activities, they return to this earth. In this way, they are elevated to the heavenly planets, and then they again fall to the earthly planets. So just to cut a little bit, this purport is very long. But the point is that there are different places to enjoy in this material world. Because this material world is created for the living entities who want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So Krishna gives facilities. And interestingly enough, one of these places is on this earth. We can actually enjoy in this earth if you're born in some beautiful place, and you can enjoy life. This place where we are, Bharatvarsha, there's a both. There's enjoyment and there's a suffering. So Prabhupada gives this example of a camel who chews on thorns. I don't know if you have ever chewed something, you bit your tongue, and it's kind of tasty. I don't know, is it? Anybody? And you think like, oh, it's very tasty, very nice, but you actually bit your tongue. There's blood maybe pouring. So the camel is doing this, chewing, and the camel thinks, well, this is very tasty, but it's actually thorns, eating thorns, and cutting your own tongue. So the material world in this place, Bharatvarsha, is like this, We are enjoying and we are suffering, and we are suffering and we are enjoying, then we enjoy a little bit more, then we suffer a little bit more. But there are places where people enjoy very much. Like I was in Hawaii some years ago. I spent a couple of months there, distributing books on the Waikiki beach. And I tell you, people are not exactly the happiest people you can meet. Just the same as anybody else. Just the climate is very beautiful. When rain is in Hawaii, it's like, when you sprinkle tulasi with this, This is how it rains, you know, very, and you feel like, wow, this is very heavenly. Or you can go to the forest. We went to the forest, and then you find avocado trees, and you just pick avocados in your bag. Very nice. Free of charge, avocados. You get a whole bag of avocados. Very beautiful place. But then people are also suffering there. Lots of poor people there. Very poor people. And because this is the nature of the material world. And then we have this, what is described here, the lower regions. Lower Bila Svarga. Bila means under. So we have heavenly planets which are below. I was thinking, I remember when I read this first time, how do you have something which is below? There's no sun, it's always dark, and it's a heavenly planet. And here how it is. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Here. So, this is the description of these lower planets. The sun globe, this is from the sun globe. What's going on from the sun globe, but and then more unten, wie sagen wir das? Down. The sun globes extends 10,000 yojas, 80,000 miles. The moon extends 20,000 miles, and the Rahu extends 30,000 miles. Interestingly, Rahu planet is a very powerful planet. I said as the presiding deity of this Rahu is very demoniac person, very terrible person. And he always looks, Rahu is very envious, he always looks how to cut the sun, how to cut the moon. He's very envious of the sun and the moon. So, this is where the Rahu stands. And then below the Rahu are the planets known as Siddha Loka, Charana Loka, and Vidyadhara Loka. These are the, lower planets where people like same the heavenly planets, but they're a little lower than the higher planets is where Indra Dev lives, the real Svarga Loka. And the lower planets are where people still enjoy, but it's a little lower, standard of enjoyment as there. Okay, so beneath Vidyadhara Loka, Charana Loka, and Siddha Loka in the sky is called Antariksha, are the places of enjoyment for yakshas, rakshashas, pishachas, ghosts, and so on. So Antariksha extends as far as the wind blows and the clouds float in the sky. So meaning, it's said as, this is said that 800 miles, 1,000 kilometers from the planet Earth above, to the higher, it says, as long as the clouds float, this is this place where all these yakshas, rakshashas, and pishachas live. You translate?
Just lost where you are reading. Are you reading from this commentary?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm reading, speaking.
Is it too fast?
800 kilometers above the earth is the place where all these yakshas, rakshashas, and pishachas live. These are the ghostly people. And they are led by Lord Shiva. So this is very close, only very close to here. And it said that Shiva comes with all these, strange creatures every evening. When the sun is setting and it's getting dark, it is Demeru. This is where these creatures come. And therefore it is said at that time it's not good to eat, to sleep, don't do anything, this kind of things. Mode of ignorance, because these creatures will attract to this kind of activities. And they are leaving, they're staying all night here, and they are leaving in the morning where the sun rises. And therefore, when the sun rises, we should not eat, we should not sleep, And therefore it's good to chant in Mangalarati. So this is the planet which is 800 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers above us, very close, with these yakshas and pishachas.
How many kilometers?
800 miles, so it's like 1,000 something kilometers. I don't know.
So they're coming to us.
They visit. It's described in Bhagavatam. Shiva comes and there's a picture in a horse and all this. They all come in here. I don't know what are they doing, but people when they are in the night, they're intoxicated. They are very possessing this. Who knows we don't want to know what's going on.
That means there are no ghosts here. They all are coming from and then coming back to their.
They're going back, yes.
Here not.
I don't know. Maybe they stay. I don't know the science of the ghosts. Anyway, so this is what's going on, and then we have a planet Earth, and this planet Earth, beneath the planet Earth, there's other planets: Atala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. Now, we are talking about Bila Svarga. The first, this is the 7 planetary system, which are also known as subterranean heavens. Bila Svarga, this is a description of the heavenly planets under the earth. So these are the lower planets, you can say. And in these lower planets, there are no sun, because the planet, this Ilavrita Varsha blocks all the sun and the moon. There's no. So they have artificial light from the lowest planet, Patalaloka. There are many, many snakes. It is described in the Bhagavatam. And these snakes have jewels on their head. And some snakes have 5 heads, 10 heads, and some of them 1,000,000 heads. And each of them jewels illuminate the whole lower planets. How does that look like? I don't know, but I'm sure they create electricity of some kind. So you can see that all this, it's artificial. It's kind of coming from the lower planets, and they don't have any illumination from the sun, and they don't have any idea of God. Actually, God is not present there. Like complete, communism, socialism, whatever. And they said, in this place there are very beautiful houses, garden, and places for enjoyment. And place is so more beautiful than even the higher heavenly planets. For me, this was shocking. Wow, even better than the higher planets. Because the demons have very high standard of sense gratification, wealth, and influence. Because the demigods they enjoy, but still, there's some stages amongst the demigods and so on and so forth. But demons, they all want to enjoy only. And then, interestingly enough, the lower planets have more enjoyment than the heavenly planets. So whoever wants to enjoy material life, go to the lower planets. The only problem is there's no God there, there's no sunshine. And Prabhupada translated, most of the residents of these planets live as householders, meaning there's no such a thing as brahmachari, meaning there's no such a thing anybody do any spiritual activity. Everybody's just enjoying their senses. And it says that the demigods sometimes they have their sense gratification is disturbed because the demons attack them, whatever. But the demons' sense gratification is never disturbed. They just enjoy unlimited sense gratification. Amazing. When you read this, you think like, why do we want to go to heavenly planets? We can go just down there. It sounds very good, I mean, sounds pretty good. So, anyways, it says that the demon Maya Danava, he is a great architect and he made all these beautiful buildings and beautiful places there and houses and assembly houses and yards and so on and so forth, and they all the leaders have many beautiful jewels, all the opulence. It's a very opulent place. The parks and gardens, he says, they surpass the beauty of those in the upper heavenly planets. So, but there is no sunshine because there's no sun, so time is not divided into days and nights. And they don't have fear that time produces. We have a fear, I'm late for the work or whatever. They don't have it because they don't have a time like this as we have. So therefore they just live very carefree and very happily. I mean, this sounds very attractive for those who want to enjoy sense gratification. Anyways, there's more. Bhagavatam describes more that they drink bathe in juices and with wonderful herbs, and they're all freed from anxiety and physical diseases. Everything is so wonderful, describing how wonderful it is, the lower heavenly planets. But the only problem is death. They all die. And I was just thinking when I was reading this, that this is the one main point of preaching of our movement, that we should preach, that you will die, no matter in the West, in the East, there's still people suffering, but in the West, how do you tell people you are suffering? I'm not suffering. I have a beautiful house. I have a, 12,000 euros salary. How am I suffering? But no, you are not suffering, but you will die. And then what will happen to you? You don't know. And I think this is just like these people in the lower heavenly planets, this is their main, deficiency, that they will die. They will have to die. And once person dies, you don't know what is your next destination. You don't know what is your destination. And therefore, this should be our, I think, very important preaching. And therefore, I was talking, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he told me that he would like to see more preaching in this particular point of reincarnation. Meaning that there's a life after death. Not that we should know what is our life after death, but the point is that there is life after death at all. Because in many religions or philosophies, or they think there is no life after death. We're the atoms, and once we die, we just dissolve to the universe, and we just become atoms, something else, and it's over. But it is not over. Meaning, when we understand that there's a life after death, that also means that there's a responsibility for this life. That we cannot be carefree. Okay, I can do whatever I like because it doesn't matter anyways. We all die and we all the same. We just die. Who cares? And but this is not the case. We are responsible. The best example is we go to Lidl or Kaufland. We can fill up our cart. Fill up the cart with all kinds of wonderful foods, and then we can just go out, and then the security will say, stop, you can't, you have to go to the kasse and pay. And we'll say, but we actually have to pay all this what we put in our cart. So this is exactly what's going on in this world. We bear responsibility for every little thing we do. Everything. We say something wrong to some person, this will come back to us. We take €1 from somebody. Prabhupada says, if I take from somebody $1 or €1, that €1 I will have to pay it back. He said, I will have to get birth again to pay it back. So, we should be, as devotees, very conscious of these things. We should not produce further karma or get some more activities that will hunt us back. We know, of course, if we give a donation to a spiritually elevated person, that this person will engage in Krishna service with hope. We hope this person will engage in Krishna service. And in this way, this holy person will nullify this. That this person will not need to take birth again. But otherwise, we get karma for everything, every little detail. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described when this great sage was meditating, and the policemen came, and they were looking for a thief. And they asked him, do you know? And he was like meditating. He said, I don't know, I'm meditating here. So they went to his cottage, and they found inside the cottage, the thief was hiding there. And he said, you are both, the thieves, and you are lying, you are sage, come, arrest him. So they arrested the sage. The sage was nothing, he didn't do anything, he was meditating. So they brought him to the police, and they said, we'll kill you now. And they take the spears, and they pierced them, both of them. And the sage was looking and he said, what is this now? because he knew that whatever happens to me in this life is my karma from my previous things. And he said, I know in this life I have not committed any sinful activity, zero. So how did he pierce me? For what have I done to be pierced? And then he got angry. Sometimes sages get really angry because of austerities. So he went to the Yamaraj and he said, I demand to see Yamaraj. And they opened the door and he said, why? What have I done? Sometimes it is actually described in the Shastra that we are allowed to ask even provocative questions to our spiritual master. So he asked, what have I done? Tell me, all my life I've not broken any principles, I didn't offend anybody. Why have I been pierced with a spear? And Yamaraj said, well, what is the Yamaraj's scribe? Chitragupta opened the book, Chitragupta opened the laptop, looking all the files, Sage, he said, when you were 12 years old, you saw a grasshopper and you took a little grass and you pierced a grasshopper. And he said, yeah, but I was 12 years old. According to the Shastra, until 12 years old, you acquire no karma. You can do anything. You can, kill somebody, but you acquire no karma. Your parents get the karma until age of 12. So I am not faulty. So therefore I curse you to become Shudra. So that's how Yamaraj came as Vidura later on. But the point here is what I want to say, is that everything we do, we get reactions to it. Like everything, any little thing, every doctor knows, everything, if you put something in your mouth, food, this will create certain reaction in the body. If you put a, wonderful cake full of sugar, it's tasty, but body will react in a certain way. And if you put something else, more healthier, body will react in another way. I know, for example, Prithu Prabhu, when there was maybe 20 years ago, he got this disease called hepatitis C. And this is a very deadly disease. And then he was just changed completely his life. He started eating different in diet, eating very healthy food. And even now, he's almost 80 years old. He still lives very happily, So meaning whatever you put in your mouth, it produces certain reactions. So we also, whatever we do, we produce certain reactions. So as devotees, as much as we try to chant Hare Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness, we also try not to produce further karma or further, sinful reactions. As Prabhupada says, when we are devotees, we turn the fan off. The fan of karma is running like this. So when we are devotees, we turn it off. But when we turn off, the fan is still running a little bit for some time. And then he said, then when the fan almost stops, then we just turn it again. The fan goes, and then we turn it off. The fan turns off, turn it off, turn it off. So better just leave it. Just leave it and just don't produce any more sinful activities. Understanding that no matter what situation I am, Brahma bhuvala loka punaravati arjuna mamupetya tu konteya punarjanmana vidyate, that from Brahma bhuvana loka, from the Brahma planet to the all other planets, meaning from the highest planet to the lowest planets, Prabhupada translate, all are places of misery. And why is this misery? Because we see there's enjoyment in heavenly planets, enjoyment in lower planets. Only here somehow we are not lucky, to have like half. But the point is that the misery is because we have to die. This is the actual misery. There's no unlimited enjoyment. And then this enjoyment we may lead, thousands of years, beautiful enjoyment. And then we have to come back to this planet Earth again and suffer here. Then we go a little bit to hellish planets. And then go again and again, bhutva praliyate. So this is the misery of the material world. Therefore, mamupetya to Mamupetya means one who attains, one who arrives to me, or one who arrives at the place where I am, Punar Janma Navidyate, no more death, no more birth, no more death. And this is the somehow we can understand this, that somehow or other we are lucky in this life to attain this human form of body. Somehow. I don't know how, but we got it. And somehow or other, we got the mercy enough so we can somehow have we agreed to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda and Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, we should understand this and use this to actually leave this material world altogether. There was once one devotee. Anyways, it was described in Prabhupada's history of Prabhupada, movement. Tamal Krishna Goswami. He was a very big leader. When he joined, he became immediately, after 1 year, he became the East Coast GBC, a very powerful preacher, very powerful, personality. But then he became a little bit, proud of his, achievements. And they were sitting once, and Prabhupada says, this material universe is one of the many millions of universes. And in this material universe, there's a millions of planets. And in these billions of planets, there's a one earthly planet. And in this one earthly planet, there's a millions of living entities, trees, plants, humans, all kinds of living entities. And in this planet Earth, there's a one big city called Los Angeles, with millions of living entities. And in this Los Angeles, there's one street called Watsika Avenue. And in this Watsika Avenue, there are so many residents. And then we have one temple, Hare Krishna temple. And there's a one Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he thinks he's very important. So this is what we think, I'm very important. And we are a little, huge city of Köln, and we are sitting here in Taunusstraße 40 and thinking, I'm pretty important in my own way. I'm responsible to throw the garbage. There's a responsibility. I'm a pretty responsible person. Or whatever. I cook well, and the devotee said, "Well, this was very tasty," and you think like, I'm pretty good. Whatever our qualities are, great qualities. But this actually, comparing to billions of living entities and wonderful thousands and millions of wonderful devotees, we're actually very low on this on this ladder, So we should understand this. Wow, I'm so lucky that I have something, that I can see Lord Chaitanya in the morning. This is actually a blessing, actually. And this is all blessing because Prabhupada says, quoting from Madhya Lila 19, 151, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagyavan Jiva. This word Bhagyavan, I asked quite few devotees, what does it mean, Bhagyavan Jiva? Bhagyavan translated as very fortunate. In the whole Brahmanda, people are going through Brahmanda, up and down is described. And in this Brahmanda, one who is very fortunate gets Guru Krishna Prasade Paya, but he gets mercy of Guru and Krishna. What does it mean, Bhagyavan? What does it mean that one person is very fortunate? And most of the devotees that I got, some scholars, they said, this is exactly what it means. You're very, very fortunate. Meaning we are just fortunate enough to somehow got Krishna. That's all. And therefore, when we preach Krishna consciousness, we are making other people opportunities to be fortunate also. We give them a book, or we give them whatever, For example, Jayaram, our friend here, I know how he joined. When he was 12 years old, he was going to some festival with his father. He was 12 years old boy. He was holding his hand of his father. And he saw a book distributor. He said, "Father, buy me this book from this person." He had no idea what that is. And the father said, "Well, which one?" He said, "Yeah, I want this." And then the devotee sold him Bhagavad Gita. And he was little Michael was very happy. And then later on, when he was 18 or 20, he read Bhagavad Gita and he joined the Hare Krishna movement. So Bhagyavan, this is fortune. We create opportunities for people to actually be fortunate. So, what else we have? Then, Srila Prabhupada explains, when one becomes fortunate, what happens? We are just fortunate and we just say, okay, it's like some religion. I accept Lord Chaitanya as my Lord and Savior. How do you say it in Russian? You have this? Spasitel, yeah. We are spasitel, and then that's it. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to practice anything. And I'm going straight to heaven because it's just accepted in my heart. It doesn't matter what I do. But this is not so according to our philosophy. According to our philosophy, our bhakti is like a creeper, bhakti lata. And it's like a little plant. And everybody knows who have grown a plant, especially tulsi, how difficult it is to actually maintain tulsi. In winter time, you need a special lights, and how many times tulsi dies, because somehow it doesn't. So you have to be very attentive. Put enough water, put enough good earth, make sure that this plant is growing well. And this care is, as it is described here, is like water is like hearing and chanting. So we have to maintain this creeper of devotional service, Bhakti Lata, with great care and attention. And this creeper growing, become bigger and thicker, And it says that grows all the way up and goes to the Goloka Vrindavan. The only problem with this, how we can destroy is, first of all, to don't water it, and then creeper will die. It means no hearing, no chanting. And the second of all is with the offenses. When we offend, then we can actually trample this plant. So we have to be very careful to don't do these things, to don't trample or to be very attentive to hear and chant. And then because the more we hear and chant, it will be better for us. We will become more understanding in our Krishna consciousness, and then we will also not make offenses because we will understand who is a devotee, how do we behave towards devotee, how do we, we'll have more understanding. We'll know Vaishnava etiquette. I think nowadays it has to be mass Vaishnava etiquette tours throughout the ISKCON in the West, at least. I don't know, maybe in Ukraine it's different, but here I think we need a big bus tour called Vaishnava etiquette tour. The devotees should relearn the Vaishnava etiquette, because by not knowing the Vaishnava etiquette, we're just creating offenses for ourselves, and then the whole society remains on the Kanishta level. And then if your whole society is on Kanishta level, then society cannot make advancement. And this is not the point. Like in India, even now, if you go to a village, there's a Vaishnava etiquette. They know Vaishnava etiquette at least. You see an older person, and I saw it when I was in Vrindavan recently. Everybody just wake up, they brush their teeth. You know how they do with the stick. And then when the older person comes, everybody comes and touch their feet. This is how they greet him. And he greets them like this. Blessing. This is just a normal thing. He's not a Paramahamsa, Parivrajacacharya, but he's an older person. And assumes that because he's old, that means that person has a knowledge of the world. For example, or they know the person the same age, they embrace, and the younger person, they give blessings, whatever is described in the Krishna book. Anyways, just something. Otherwise, so this is what I was thinking about. The Svarga, the Bila Svarga. There's so many places in this world that we can actually enjoy, and so many different types of enjoyment. I always have to repeat this. I had one devotee. He was our devotee in America. And he left, he left the movement 2-3 times, more, 5-6 times. And he goes for a couple of months and he comes back. As we call it, bloop. He bloops and he comes back. Very passionate person. American sometimes, very uncontrolled. And the main thing he brought, the principles, were gambling. I never heard anybody, leave the movement because of gambling. Yeah, usually people some other principles to break, but he gambled, and he told me it's such a passion. He as soon as he left, he went to this, how you call this, gambling house, and he said he gambles, and then he won, and he went to some competition. He won like $15,000, and he said he was so focused. Sometimes he gambles 18 hours, 20 hours a day, not sleeping. We were like, how do you do this, And then I realized it's all Maya. Then he comes back to the temple and all these things. But the point is that because we're all devotees, we cannot understand this. How do you? What is enjoyment sitting in some dark room with other people and gamble for? But meaning that there is enjoyment. People enjoy in different kinds of ways. And Krishna facilitates this enjoyment in all varieties, all kinds of varieties. And therefore we should just stop with all this, and by the grace of Krishna, Guru Krishna Prasade, Paya Bhakti Lata Bija, we should understand my creeper of devotional service to start to grow, and I should be very, very careful to actually maintain it. Hare Krishna. I think this is enough. Thank you very much. Your Prabhupada Ki Jai. Would you like to ask anything or add or argue? Yeah, this is what is wrong with enjoyment. Because sometimes when we give lecture, public lecture, people ask, what is wrong to enjoy the senses? They don't understand, isn't it? Sometimes I had this several times, isn't it, Lalamrita? What's wrong with, we have senses, and what is wrong with this? There's nothing wrong, but there is also wrong, because if you continue enjoying senses, you stay on the bodily platform, and then you die, and then you have to take another birth. This is the problem. Birth is another problem. Death is another problem. And what to speak of in between, also disease or whatever, is also a problem. The material world is a problem in general. So I think this should be our platform of preaching. That we should say, you do not want to die ever again. Why would you want to die again? Imagine death. It must be terrible. I don't want to imagine, but death, I cannot imagine it's great. You lie and you said, oh, it's wonderful. I cannot imagine. Although these atheists, they say, I'm not afraid of death. Yeah, and then when you die, then you're like, oh, Or who knows, when the Yamadutas come, now you come, then they will see, oh, actually I was wrong. So there's no need to die again. Hare Krishna. Yes, Lamrita Mataji.
We sometimes speak about not death in the next life, but about this life. How to realize everything in this life. And sometimes we are speaking about this without thinking about God, without understanding what we are doing, Krishna's movement. Yeah, and even wise activities. It is not possible to realize what we have got in this one life. Not to speak about how to realize this moment of death.
Yeah.
I think it's also a part of our movement, yes, to improve this life, to realize to manifest our good qualities in this life.
Yes.
Then if a preacher like you is clever, so you can somehow direct these manifestations in this direction.
Yes, preaching also means example. You don't need to be a great preacher. People will see, wow, look at this. There was this, what was the example Prabhupada gives? Prabhupada, for example, gives example that once they were in Vrindavan, there was one Mataji, old woman, who was going to Yamuna every day and carrying the pot of water from Yamuna to bring to the deities, to the temple. It was just one distance, And Prabhupada said, by going to Yamuna every day to bring water, she goes back to Godhead.
She goes
Back to Godhead.
She goes back. She goes back.
just because of this. So this is preaching, you know. She goes to bring water, or whatever. I don't know, some other example, or elephants, or you know, who carry Krishna on the back, or something like this. This is also preaching. Preaching does not mean always speaking, but also give an example.
Sacinandana Prabhu was doing Sundays for 25 years, you know. You don't know, very, very famous man. Wonderful Sundays, like pictures.
Yeah, so there are different devotees who do all kinds of wonderful things. You know, temple management is also preaching. It's not only the speaker is the preacher, the temple manager is also a preacher. Because if the temple is dirty, people come and say, this is a dirty place. But if the temple is clean, when I first time joined the temple, my friend came to visit me. He said, let's see, what is this Hare Krishna? And he just came and he asked me, how can you stay here? It's so clean here. And I said, I don't know, you know, because I was cleaning the floor. And he said, how can you stay? This is so clean. This is too much. He could not tolerate, you know. But this is preaching, you know, very clean. Temple, very clean. Temple managed nicely. You know. Prasadam is also preaching. And people see this thing. Who is eating like this, you know? I was just thinking the last time they feast, this plate, they're like, whoa. Anybody eating in house like this? Who is eating like this? Nobody. When they see this kafta and this, they're like, wow. And it's all vegan nowadays. Wow. You know? It's a feast. This is also preaching. Kirtan is preaching. Everything is preaching. Which is connected to when we bring new people to Krishna consciousness. Anyways, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. That is it. Let's see. Maybe.
You don't want to drink any water?
Oh, yeah, I want to drink water.
Sacinandana.